There's a lot of teardrops out there, but you probably don't see too many 6x12s.
I've been towing Atlas from Aero Teardrops all across Oregon just to show you as many small camper trailers as I can. Today, I stopped by Bend Teardrop to show you their unique 6x12 model designed for families, but I'll also show you their 5x10 that supports a bunk as well. As usual, I will be sharing the 3 things I like about these trailers and the 3 things I think can be improved.
Hey, Dave here with Bend Teardrop, and we're with Drew. And he asked to come check out some of our teardrops out here in Bend, Oregon. There's a lot of teardrops out there, but you probably don't see too many 6x12s. Most of the teardrops out there that you see are a 5x8, which is the standard size, or a 5x10, which can fit a bunk to fit a kid, which is great. I built this for my own selfish reasons. My kids are older now, they're 8 and 10, and we needed a teardrop where we could still fit the whole family inside without having to set up a tent or something like that. And we'll show you the inside in a minute, but basically what it's got is it'll fit a California king, and it has a full-size bunk. So you can get 2 adults in there, or you could throw 2 or 3 kids in there up to 6 feet tall. And by the time they get that tall, then you probably want to kick them out anyway to a tent. You can even get 2 of your closest buddies in there if you don't mind sharing space with them. The nice thing about it though, it's still a teardrop, so it's still light. Total weight on this is 1,800 pounds. I can lift it, move it around by hand, anywhere I want it to go. 6 foot wide, so it's still about the profile of your vehicle. Lower profile, so it's not going to kill your gas mileage going down the road. And it's shiny. Shiny's good. Because the bunk is so deep with the full-size bunk, we had access storage underneath here. Because the bunk is so deep, it's 54 inches, we've got this full length pass-through access storage. And you can open it from either side, and that'll fit a whole lot of stuff. You could shove a canopy tent in here, or fishing poles, or whatever you want. There's a ton of extra storage here. And they make these little portable air conditioners now that are pretty cool. And sometimes for this area, we'll pop one of those in there. We build all of our trailers on welded steel frames. And these fenders are actually welded to the frame, so you can get up and jump around and check out your solar panel or your roof vent or whatever you want to do up here. We just use standard leaf springs for the trailer bases because a lot of that overland stuff is honestly overkill. You're taking it out to a campsite, you're going down a gravel road, you're going down a forest road. This can handle it because it's so light. And the clearance is a big deal. If you look at the clearance down there, it's 13 inches, which is higher than most trucks, even if they're jacked up. Drew asked why we do this LED lighting. Well, it looks cool, for one. But the main reason is it's very low voltage. So these lights don't suck your battery down like a normal, standard RV light would with a light bulb on it that gets hot. These lights can go forever and not kill your battery, which is nice. The whole point of our trailers, you'll probably notice they're a little more simple, a little more basic design. It's just so there's less stuff that can go wrong. And the more bells and whistles you have, the more things that can go wrong. We put solar on pretty much all of them, so the lights, the fan, the USB chargers, the 12-volt chargers, they're all working continuously. You don't have to worry about dipping into your battery life. So between the 2 doors and the 10-speed roof vent, you're moving all the air out of there since it's such a small area pretty quickly. So this porthole is not for ventilation at all. It's just for the look, some extra light in the camper, and kids like to poke their little heads out of it. On any camper you get, you already know this, Drew, but outlets, regular 110 outlets, will only work if you're hooked up to inverter, generator, or shore power. So that's what that is. There's a plug on the side. If you're at a campsite that's providing power, you can plug right in, and that's going to turn on these 110 outlets in the Galley. So you could run a toaster or something like that.
Is this the standard configuration? Like what you're seeing here is what you get at the base price?
As far as the Galley is concerned?
The whole trailer.
This trailer is a little bit upgraded. Your standard Galley, simple build, is 3 partitions, a water cubby, and a sink. What they've added is a whiskey wine rack, sauce rack, removable spice rack right here. So you can take the spice rack over to the picnic table and do your cooking. This one also has a partition Galley drawer, because this storage is great for pots and pans and propane and things like that, but it's nice to have the drawer for forks and knives and all the kind of things that you don't have to reach down into the cubby to get. They all come standard with USB chargers with the voltage meter, 12-volt charger, and then LED lighting back in the galley. What they've added on is aluminum countertops, whiskey, wine rack, removable spice rack, partition galley drawer, outlets, and then a soap dispenser.
And so this has the ability to upgrade to an inverter too for these outlets?
Yeah, we can pop in an inverter, not necessarily for the outlets. We typically just do a hardwired inverter to battery, and then we can put that wherever you want on the inside or the outside. These days though, I would probably not try to upsell you to that. I would say if you want your outlets in the cabin to work, just go out and they make those little Jackery things now. I don't know if you've seen those things, but they're just portable lithium batteries with an inverter in it. And if you were to just take that and plug that into shore power here, you've inverted the whole camper just off that Jackery, and then it's not draining the internal battery in the camper. So then the Jackery's done, then you still have camper battery. And then you could use the solar on your camper to recharge it, because the solar conditioner is right here. And you can plug into that if you wanted to.
So have you ever thought of a input for that Jackery or power station inside to keep it out of the rain?
Could do that too, yeah. It just hasn't been a thing that really has come up too often. Most of our customers are kind of more Spartan, simple backpacker, rafter kind of people. So we don't do a lot of 110 power. We pretty much build them primarily just to function dry, without plugging into power, without inverting to 110, just running off USB 12 volt, just DC power and a solar panel. Because I don't know about you, but I'm pretty lazy and I don't want to like set anything up when I get to camp. I want to park it, pop the hatch, crack a beer, and just be done with it.
My first question for you, or maybe my only question for you so far, is why the open shelving?
Well, we like to keep it pretty simple. And then once you get into hinges and cabinets, then it's time consuming. It's costly. That'll go into your price. But the main thing is its functionality. If you want to grab some cup of noodle, I see it right there. If you want to grab a bottle of whiskey, it's right here. You don't have to open up a cabinet and dig through stuff to figure out what's there. This is a 3.5-inch lip that'll hold in your gear. So you can stack this up with stuff, cruise down the road without having to open up doors. Our whole philosophy is keep it simple, keep it affordable. This is a 6x12 and the starting price is 14 grand, which is a lot less than the competition. And a lot of the reason we can do it for that price is building it simply.
And you're building a lot of these. I heard you're selling about 12 trailers a month.
Yeah, we're going to do about 144 this year. And it's about 3-4 a week. And the reason we can do it that way, we've got 5 employees all working, and we build them simply. We have a modular design. We do offer about 25, 30 different options for people, but we try to just keep it to the options that we can do relatively quickly and less costly.
Are people asking for articulating hitches for this and different styles, or are you finding your...
It's rare, and the occasional person will ask about that, but honestly, our trailer isn't really designed to be like driving on the moon. You know, a lot of that overland stuff is overkill. This will handle forest roads, it'll handle rutted roads, it'll handle gravel roads, and that there's really very rare instances where you're going to put the trailer completely sideways. But if you want to do that, that's great and it looks cool. But most of our customers are young families, people getting their first campers. They're going to go to a campsite. They're going to take it down a couple forest roads, but they're not going to be jumping it or chugging Mountain Dew going down the road or whatever those guys do. So, like I said, it can be added, but it's going to cost you more. And our whole philosophy is to get people into teardropping without breaking the bank.
Can I see in this tongue box? This thing is big. This might
So hold a lot of spaghetti.
The largest in the industry right here. Look at the size of it.
Yeah, you could put your kid in there if they're acting up, or yeah, because it's a 6x12. You know, you don't see the 6 foot wide too often. We can get the bigger box in there, and that's great for me. Like I got kids, so we've got our little piece of fake grass that we always bring to all of our camp trips. Our stove goes in there. You know, we've got little kids, so we've got like butterfly nets and BB guns and all that kind of fun stuff that they like to mess around with.
Do any of your configurations do a stealth window?
Yeah, we can do, we don't like to put it up front like that, just because most of the time when you're pulling into a camp spot, if you're leaving the trailer, you're backing in and everyone walking by is staring into your trailer. So we can do a skylight, but we typically face it up so you can look at the stars. It's called the Stargazer skylight. This one doesn't have it, but I can show you one that does. It's cool. I honestly, I'm not a big fan of windows on the roof if you're gonna do cold weather camping. Like we do a lot of like little snow camp trips and I have a skylight on mine and it's kind of annoying. You can get a little bit of condensation on the windows because it's warm in here and it's cold out there and the air turns to moisture. And with the skylight, you can get a little tiny condensation drip that's just really annoying. So as long as you're fair weather camping, it's pretty cool and you're not putting racks up there. But if you're gonna put racks up or a roof tent or you're gonna camp in the snow, I'd probably bag any kind of window on the roof line. Welcome to the interior. So that is a full-size platform bunk that'll fit 2 or 3 kids as long as they're under 6 feet tall. It's 70.5 inches. Down on the floor, that will actually fit a California king if you want it to. I prefer to put a queen in here because with the queen, then you have a good 4 inches of space on either side. And it just makes it easier changing sheets or you can throw your clothes on the side and things like that. And then we leave it simple so you can customize it any way you want. This is 3/4 marine grade plywood. So you can mount anything you want to these sidewalls as long as you're not going over 3/4 of an inch. So on mine, I've got coat hooks, I've got a guitar holder, I've got nylon netting, and that's kind of how we like to keep our clothes organized. We just attach the nylon netting to the walls and shove it all in there. That way you can see your stuff and then pull it out instead of opening up the cabinet. We do have a little bit of cubby cabinetry down below for gear. And then in the back there, beyond the cubby, is that big, long outside access storage compartment that I was talking about. And then up above, we've got a shelf here, which comes in handy putting your phone or putting a book or something like that. We've got a USB charger with voltage meter right here. We've got a 12-volt charger right here for charging stuff with a little bit more amperage. And then independent switches for your lights. So you've got interior lights, you got the porch light on the passenger side, you got a porch light on the driver's side, and then the interior lights. And then we do a 10-speed two-way max fan, and that's really key. On any trailer you get, make sure you get a nice high-quality fan, because little campers, they can create moisture. You can get condensation because your bodies create moisture. Campers can retain the moisture. With the fan, you're pushing all that out. So it's key. Never buy a camper without a good fan. You'll regret it. So this here is our most popular trailer. It's a 5x10, just a little bit bigger than your traditional teardrop trailer. This is a 5x10 as opposed to a 5x8. And with the 5x10, it allows us to put a bunk in for kids. That's probably the biggest selling feature for that. But if you don't have kids, we can do partition shelving and it opens up the space quite a bit. So here's your standard galley. It's 5 feet wide as opposed to 6 feet wide. And this is your standard galley build. 3 even partitions, 2.5 gallon water jug, draining down to the sink. The things that they've added on is a shore faucet hookup. So if you're camping at a campsite that's providing water, there's a hookup here on the side so you can plug into their water. But for most intents and purposes, this little 2.5 gallon works great. You can pick it up, it's portable, fill it at the campsite because most campsites provide water. This is on, this is off. And then you just use this to regulate the flow. This one starts at $12,000. And most people add on about $1,000 worth of upgrades. Spare tires on the fence. I have never popped a tire in a teardrop because they're pretty light. I guess it would be nice to have if that were to happen. Worst case scenario, if you didn't have a spare, you could, it's a trailer, you could park it on the side of the road, go get a spare and come back. And then I would like to talk real quick about the floor that we build on. All of our trailers are built on an insulated subfloor. And I know a lot of builders just build on a piece of treated plywood, which is cool, I guess. But what we do is we actually insulate the floor. So that's what you're looking at here. We use the foam core insulation. It's the thick stuff, the 1.5 inch stuff. I think it's like R value 14. But this is essentially a plywood and insulated sandwich, and then we build on top of that. And having an insulated subfloor, in my opinion, is a game changer. keeps the warm air in, keeps the cold air out. For the side walls, we use marine grade plywood, and that's really key. When we first started, we were just kind of using treated plywood, and you can get issues with mold, which you don't want in any kind of living situation. If a leak was to arise, leaks are possible every now and again. It's pretty rare. Having marine grade is going to keep the moisture out and mold won't accumulate. And then because campers, little campers like this, all of them, you can get condensation if you're doing cold weather stuff. That also helps not to retain any moisture.
So for the 3 things I would do differently if I was designing this trailer, number 1, I would change out those leaf spring axles. I find them a bit dated. I think at a base level trailer, you should be getting at least a torsion axle. This is going to give you a bit more independent movement on both sides of the trailer, a much more comfortable towing experience, and it's not going to cost the builder a lot of money to upgrade this. Number 2, it's those drawer slides. Now this is nitpicking here. The next one I'm going to talk about is a big deal, but the drawer slides, I see why they're doing it. They're keeping it simple so you don't have to replace them. They're designed to be beat on, but it's a bit rough. I would like to add a drawer pull that felt more like my home drawer. It just makes the experience better, and I don't mind replacing it 10 years down the road. Number 3, and I said this is a big one, this trailer has a 3/4 galley hatch. So a typical hatch that closes off your kitchen runs a full length down to the subfloor of your trailer. And what this does is if you have a sunny day or a rainy day, it gives you protection from the elements. It allows you to back up and have room in the cooking space. When you get a 3/4 hatch, it typically stops at the middle of your head or maybe a little bit back of it. And that means you have to cook really tight up against the galley, and you're not going to have room to move around, and you will not get that protection. I get why they do it. It looks cleaner. It allows you to have more space in there to store batteries, but it's not something I prefer. The 3 things I like about Bend Teardrop, number 1, it's that full insulation. Insulating from the floor makes a ton of sense, and you're not seeing it in a lot of teardrop builds. Number 2, it's the simplicity of the build. Now, typically I'm saying the simplicity is why this build costs more, but the beauty of Bend Teardrops is they keep it simple to also keep your costs down. So you have the open shelving to get to things easier. Inside the cabin, you don't have cabinets. And what this does is makes the space feel bigger, but allows you to make it your own. I think the simplicity of the build for those of us who actually camp and understand it will find value in this. Number 3, I love that these trailers are built tough, but not overbuilt. So you can still stand on the fender. You still have the ability to put a tent on the roof. It has 13 inches of clearance. You can get to BLM land, National Forest, go everywhere we camp, but not more than you need that causes extra price and extra weight and drag on the road. If you'd like to see all our trailer walkthroughs, click on this playlist here. This is videos we made for the community, and I know there is a trailer there for you. If you do own a trailer, stay safe on the road, and we'll see you in the next episode.